Protecting your biggest investment is very, very important, but also protecting yourself and your family and your animals is more important. So there's about 5 things today we're going to go over to help remind you on how to keep everybody safe and healthy. Today on those 5 things, we're going to start off with some really cool things, like a smoke detector. Now, it's not really that cool, but it's life-saving. The majority of house fires start between 8 p.m. and 8 a.m., according to the National Association of Fire Prevention. Now, all that stuff's below. Those are the real professionals. Pay attention to them, kind of pay attention to me. But there's 2 different types. There's ionization and there's photoelectric. The ionization are more for like seeing flaming fires kind of thing, like the easy part, right? But the photoelectric, those are the kind that actually are going to get to the root of like the smoldering flames, the one that are about to start. So it's recommended, it's recommended that you get a dual one that does both. That's what dual means, get it? So we think you should do that. Also, get one that has a carbon monoxide detector built in. Most of us have gas in our houses. That's like the silent killer. So we need to make sure that we're also looking out for that. Now they recommend that we put them inside every single bedroom, outside every single bedroom, kind of like in hallways, where smoke and fire are most likely to happen, kitchens, laundry rooms, everything like that. And then to put them on every level, including basements, garages, and workshops. Now, with that being said, be smart about it. If you put them on the ceiling so they can get the highest part. But the one thing they point out, if you have vaulted or cathedral ceilings, put them about a foot lower than the apex of the roof, so that way it really picks it up. With these 2, you need to change out the batteries. We say every time the time change, so twice a year, every 6 months, about, until they messed up the time change thing. But we recommend that you do that. We also recommend that you, well, not we, they recommend that you test it, and it's really loud. It's like my mom's voice. But at the end of the day, it'll wake you up, it'll get you going, it'll get you out the place. Mom, please don't take offense to this. So that's it for fire detectors and smoke detectors. The other thing they recommend is if that thing goes off, how to put it out, right? So fire extinguishers. They recommend this as well, every bedroom and every single place that a fire could happen. So, or most likely to happen, right? Kitchens, garages, workshops. But don't put this thing next to the stove. That'd be kind of dumb. The stove catches on fire. You got to reach through fire to get this thing to put the fire out. It doesn't make a lot of sense. So they recommend putting it by all exits, so that way you can fight it and retreat if you need to. And they always say, remember the acronym PASS. Pull the pin, which I'm not going to do. Aim it low, squeeze, and then sweep. You're not trying to get the flames, you're trying to get the base of it. And they recommend that you get a general purpose one for residential purposes, meaning it could be a grease fire, it could be electrical fire. There's a lot of different ways that these fires need to be put out. So make sure you get one that's more general to everybody's needs. So we got that. And if worst comes to worst, you can hit somebody with it. What happens if water happens? What happens if like you get your fridge is combust in the middle of the night? Well, you need a water key. I know it's a water key. It doesn't look like a key. It's more like a wrench. We've got a whole blog post on this, on how to turn off the water to your house, because nobody wants to crawl in their house at 2 o'clock in the morning to turn off a water main to, I don't know, your fridge. You can do it out front. It's pretty easy breezy. And if you have really good agents like us, we give you these at closing with some other stuff. So that way, if stuff does happen or when stuff does happen, you're taken care of. So let's say you're fighting the fire, you're putting the water, let's say you're putting the water out and turning the water off, not putting it out, and you have a problem. Well, you need a first aid kit. That's pretty understandable. Just a basic first aid kit will do. That's what they always recommend. Stuff for burns and scrapes and bee stings and everything else. So have that handy as well. Oh yeah, talking back to fires. Say you have a fire on a second story. Well, you need oh look at that. That's really nice, like 1980s version. But the good thing is the ladder's still good. So these ladders hang out windows. They help you get down from the second story if you only have one way out. That could be a big deal if you only have one way out and the fire's down below you. The last thing they recommend is like, I call it a bug out bag, but that's kind of my prepper at heart nature. But what they recommend there is stuff always happens, whether it's, I don't know, wildfires in California, floods in the low country, ice storms, snowstorms, whatever it is. Just have a bag packed up with some clothes, your medicines, some documents, just in case you had to get out in a hurry. You could get out and still save your life. So we want to remind you of all this stuff. Pay attention to the stuff below. There's a lot more checklists and everything else. But when it comes to your biggest investment, protect it. And more importantly, protect yourself. So hopefully this made some sense to you. If you have any questions, drop in the comments below. We'd love to answer them for you.